Sorry.
I just want to add to what Mr. Singh asked and what the lead has said. I think first of all it needs to be made abundantly clear. Our request for Commission of Inquiry is, as the lead has said, to basically send a message to those who would like to invest here and see us as a nation that they don't want to do business in because of corrupt practices or allegations. But it's also, yes, to clear our country's good name. But it's to send a message to future politicians as well, that you ought to be held accountable for what you're doing and your service to the people. You asked what would we want to see or what we plan to do once the Commission of Inquiry is done. Well, that will certainly depend on its findings. There are many paths, there are many roads, there are many things that can happen after a Commission of Inquiry. But I want the people of this country to know, and I would like for the members of the press to send the message and declare, we have led and steered this country through extremely difficult times. And we are prepared whatever path, whatever way England intends for us to go after, and I'm saying after the Commission of Inquiry, we are prepared to travel down that path and to serve our people as we always do. We have a reputation of being the clean-up party. Unfortunately, we've done it before, and we are certainly willing, able, and capable to do it again.
As the Training Committee said about the full executive, in terms of the people coming forward, they protect them and use the full extent of their power. What powers exactly?
They made those statements. You gotta ask them what powers they intend to use. I can't tell you what powers they intend to use. Sorry, Kevin, you were.
A related question to both the first statement and the answer to David's statement. If there is a commission inquiry, will you be recommending how broad its power should be? Because some commission inquiries, they end, they leave a massive tome or book, and we know what went on and what they assert. But then some other commission inquiries actually have powers where they could recommend legal action. What are you looking for?
What we would, if we begin with, we won't be conducting the, unfortunately, we won't be conducting the Commission of Inquiry. But if they had our way, I believe that the Commission of Inquiry ought to be as far-reaching as possible because the issues that face our country right now are not just limited to, as people would try to perceive, it's not just limited to the ground of Crown land. And while I'm there before, let me just digress for a second. The issue with Crown land, our issues with Crown land has never been about Turks and Caicos Islanders receiving Crown land. Any issue we've ever made about Crown land is how ministers of government have breached the trust of Turks and Caicos Islanders in the dealing of Crown land, where they've taken land for themselves for far less than market value, where they've given persons Crown land and then unsold it and given the citizens of the country just pittance and taken the bulk for themselves. Our issue has never been about the citizens of our country receiving what is theirs. What we have a problem with is those in position of trust using that position of trust to unduly enrich themselves and to rape and pillage. But with respect to the Commission of Inquiry, we would hope for there to be wide-reaching powers for the commissioners. We'd want them to have powers of subpoenas where they can subpoena anyone from the country to come and offer testimony. We would request that they have access to all government information and be able to subpoena information from private citizens that may be appropriate to the investigation. We ever let chips fall, let them fall. If there's anyone that has done anything wrong, let them be held accountable. And that's our position.
But what about the anti-corruption bill? I know a few weeks ago, you guys talked about the anti-corruption bill. What role will it play if there is a commission of inquiry and all of this? What role will it play?
To begin with, I think those are two slightly different issues, because the anti-corruption bill came late, came watered down. Almost 4 years after they said almost 5 years after they said they were going to do it. But that bill governs from the day that is, I don't know, has the governor has a senator already, but he hasn't appointed the commissioners yet. But from the day that he assents to it, and anything that's done inappropriate or that's covered under that legislation will, all members in public life, politicians and senior public servants, will be held to account by that legislation from that day going forward. But that's in March or April of this year. No, sorry, it might have been sent in May of this year. But what we would expect of a commission of inquiry to look back, look back over the last 5 years, look back over the last 10, 20, 50 years, whatever, and whatever has been done inappropriately in the past, to be able to hold those persons to account going retrospectively.
So if the bill had been introduced 5 years ago, would it be legally required?
If the bill had been introduced 5 years ago in the form that we would want it to be, then there probably wouldn't be a need for inquiry. What would have probably been needed was additional space in Her Majesty's prison, but we would not have needed the inquiry at this point in time.
So without the bill and without a commission inquiry, there's no other legal process or ministerial process to go through to hold a minister accountable.
Yes, there is.
Has that been pursued? Because if you have the evidence, as just stated in the statement, evidence that's given to the FCO, evidence that you have, why wasn't that pursued?
The PDM has pursued every possible path, letter after letter, complaint after complaint, and we've had roadblocks as high as we can go in this island. That is why the PDM's last resort was to begin to get the British to begin to look at the territory. I think it's no secret how we feel about the role of the governor, which is also being brought into question, which will also, we hope, be subject to this inquiry, because that was the mandate of the FAC to review the role of the FCO and its overseas territories, and that will include his office. But we have tirelessly written letter after letter of everything basically that we raised in our submission over the past few years. And persons will hear me say sometimes we wrote 2 pages and we got back a paragraph, 2 paragraphs from the governor's office. A lot of what we tried, this is basically a last resort, and it needs to be made clear that the PDM understands what can happen, what repercussions can flow from a commission of inquiry. But it is necessary to purge, and it's necessary to clear our name, because we tried everything possible before.